to this show from Teachers Talk Radio. You can catch up with all our shows by visiting our YouTube channel or by listening back at ttradio.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe to enjoy more live education conversation from TTR. We hope you enjoy this show.
Outstanding and world-class vision and world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused.
Good evening and welcome to Points of View on Teachers Talk Radio, our regular panel show where we discuss educational topics, debates, issues. Tonight on the panel we have Ray, we've got Maud and myself Liz, and we are going to discuss whether or not we feel teachers are entitled to a private life. We all know that teachers are expected to uphold the highest standards of professionalism. We are reminded of that all the time, but that is expected both inside and outside the classroom. Part 2 of the teacher standards does tell us a code of conduct and what's expected of us. But where should the line be drawn between personal freedom and professional responsibility? The requirement that's set out in teacher standards is for us to maintain public trust and demonstrate high standards of personal and professional conduct. But to what extent is this at conflict with the teacher's right to enjoy a private life? Social media and the advent of that and all the children having smartphones has blurred the boundaries between work and home, and students' growing access to smartphones and the ability to record, share, scrutinise teachers' lives in ways that were unimaginable a generation ago is a very real problem for teachers in the modern day. So we're going to discuss privacy, professionalism, public perception, the ethical, moral and practical application of that. And are teachers ever able to truly switch off now that smartphones are a thing, that social media is a thing? What does it mean for us as teachers or anybody working within the educational field? So throw it out to the floor, opinions on this topic, because we're all trying to have lives now. The summer holidays have started, so we've come out of hibernation and we're actually kind of living a little bit, dare I say. So what do you think?
It's complicated.
It is complicated.
It's extremely complicated. And this isn't relevant to teaching specifically, but I was at a graduation for medical students the other week, and it was beautiful. It was in Canterbury Cathedral. Like it was gorgeous. Loved it. Wonderful ceremony. But as part of this, the medical students recited that Geneva thing. I pledged the first part of it, or the second part of it, I think it's the first one, basically says I pledged to devote my entire life to helping humanity, or something along those lines. And I didn't know they were going to do this. I'd never read that thing before. Like, I thought the only medical thing was, first do no harm. I thought there was we've come a long way. But it immediately got my back up, because I think medical professionals are in a similar situation to teachers. Any career like that, we're all kind of in the same boat, in that we are expected to make ourselves and our personhood and our humanity, as our individuality, secondary to the career we've chosen. And that isn't just working long hours and not being paid enough for it. And for the record, I think doctors and all medical professionals, I think they have it worse than we do, because they're literally actually saving lives multiple times a day, and they're just absolutely abused for it constantly. But we're expected to put ourselves second in every in every sense, not just working those long hours, but also somehow being held to higher standards than the general public, which in some way I get, and in some way I don't, because I haven't been elected to office to represent people. I haven't put myself forward. I'm not a politician. I'm not a representative of a community or a country or a city or anything. I'm not trying to be multiple. I'm myself, and I have a job, and I do that job. And at the end of the day, I like to be myself when I'm doing that job. Sorry, someone decided to call me on my phone, and that is on my computer. I like to be myself while I'm doing my job, but I also, even if I can't do that because professionalism exists, I am going to get a divorce right now. I like to be myself when I leave work. I want to be like, even if I have to be super professional and mask up and you know, yes ma'am, yes sir, yes doc, whatever. I want to be myself when I get home or when I'm not at work. And certain careers, because of the jobs that we've chosen, we don't have that freedom anymore. And I feel like that is fundamentally wrong as an individual, as a person, whether it's teachers or medical professionals or anyone in that who has that job, because that is what it is. It is a job. We're not like, I do agree with the politician aspect of it, but I don't think, if I saw, like, if a doctor says something stupid or something offensive, or if they get in a car crash, or they're drunk at the pub being seen by their patients, more on that in a minute, if they're, you know, making a tit of themselves in public, if they're doing like whatever stupid thing that people do because we're people, I would never assume that that has anything to do with their ability to practice medicine. And likewise, I would never assume that any stupid personal decision a teacher makes has anything to do with their ability to teach. I don't understand why we are put on this pedestal kind of against our will. And that's my very long introduction. I'm really sorry, interrupted by 2 phone calls, but somebody else take over, please.
Gladly so, Ray. Thanks. You've raised so many points in that introduction, I have to say. I really like the comparison to the doctor, because I do think that when you become a teacher, you get a very important role in the community where you are guiding the next generation of citizens. So although we don't have people's lives in our hands, literally, like a nurse or a doctor does, we have their soul somehow, their minds, you know, because we do shape minds. So I take it very seriously. Now, I'm also aware that we are fallible human beings, and sometimes we're tired. Some of us have children who wake them up in the night. Some of them might have broken with their partners and having a very bad time. So this will impact the way we work sometimes, you know, or we might have, you know, to be a carer for an elderly parent and we are distracted. But there's a big difference between when we're at work and we're outside work. And I think too often we are considered teachers 24 hours a day. And I find that absolutely crazy. I'll give you an example. My mother is now retired, and she used to be a primary school teacher. Like mother, like daughter, I guess. So once she posted a profile picture on her Facebook account. It was not dissimilar to the kind of background. It was in a pub, a French pub, with a wood panel behind her, and there was a pint in front of her. It was taken when she was holidaying, I think in England, when she visited me or something. Anyway, and she put it on her Facebook profile because she thought she looked quite good on that picture. So late 50s, French lady, who's been teaching for 30 years. Yeah? And someone complained at what is called the inspection académique, so it's in the hierarchy, that she was promoting alcohol consumption on her Facebook profile. And I mean, that was ridiculous. But this is the kind of thing we have to face, because some parents, and that's not all parents, they're gonna just try to find something to beat us with. And if it's a Facebook profile picture, they'll use it. So obviously nothing happened to my mom. She was quite upset about it because it was definitely, spurred by someone's bitterness, someone who just wants to attack you for no reason. But it just shows that we are public personas, and if you ever Google your name, and maybe don't do that, or search engine your name, sorry, I did a product placement there, you might see things you don't want to see. But I do think we should definitely separate our private life and our working life, just because we are full human beings, and the children are clever enough to know. When they're little, they think we sleep in the school, because a few of them asked me if I slept in the office because they assumed I go there all the time, so I must live there. But when they grow up, they should know that there's us at work and there's us outside of work. So I'm just hoping more parents are aware of that, and that they're not going to use that against us. But there's, the reality of our job, and there's also pettiness. And I think sometimes if you look at your social media, you might see that some people use it against us, and I find it disrespectful. But I mean, you'll get that. But also on what you said about professional standards, I know that we are supposed to avoid some situations. For instance, in America, there was a primary school teacher who lost her job because she had an OnlyFans account. You know what OnlyFans is about. It was definitely not about teaching phonics. And she said that she was trying hard to not be recognized, but a parent, and that's the irony, a parent recognized her and she lost her job. And eventually she just had to fulfill a different type of career. I can understand that this doesn't fit well with teaching children about self-respect and, but it is difficult if you want to be political, for instance, if someone wants to be a member of a political party, or if you have very strong hobbies, you might be, I don't know, someone who loves fox hunting or something. Will it go against your career? I don't know. We should also be able to have different hobbies, I think, definitely, as long as it's not promoting difficult lifestyle to explain, such as pornography or, arm dealing,
murdering
whatever.
Animals. Yeah.
True.
I think it is really difficult, isn't it? And I think most jobs now have that kind of clause when you apply for a job, that they're going to look at all of your social media and check to make sure that you're, pure and respectable in terms of being employed. I don't think that's necessarily exclusive to teaching, but I think because you've got young people who can be quite dogged on social media about trying to track you down and find you, you are advised, aren't you, to keep everything as locked down as possible, because you're worried
but
about something coming back to haunt you.
If they're determined enough, they will. This is the awful, the beautiful and terrifying and horrible thing about the internet, right? Like, anyone can find anything. Nothing is ever erased. You're never completely hidden. Like, and sometimes that's a good thing when the police bust the criminals for doing horrible stuff. And sometimes it's a really bad thing when lunatics hunt you down for doing something that they're clutching their pearls over. So it's a double-edged sword.
It's really, really difficult, and I don't know how to strike the right balance with it, really. And I've talked about this on the show before. Thank you to everyone who's joining us, by the way. Do drop us a like or drop us a comment to let us know your own thoughts on this. We've got quite a few people joining us from Facebook currently, and a few on X as well, which is really great. Thank you so much. I find the balance really, really hard. I've said about this on the show before. I live in the same town as I work, which I've never done before. And I find the blurring of boundaries between my school life and my home life happens a lot more frequently than it used to. And the kids often say, oh, we saw you in supermarket. We know where you do your shopping. We saw you here. We saw you there. And it's really quite, it's like, I'm not a wild person by any stretch of the imagination, as everyone knows, because I'm always available for points of view, so I don't have a life. There's no worries about that. However, I feel I'm always like, what was in my basket? You know, what was I doing? Was my son playing up? Like, what was I parenting well? Like, what I'm always completely paranoid about what I was doing at that time. And you know, I don't even do anything wrong, but yet you feel like you're scrutinized all the time. And that's, I should be able to live my life. I should be able to browse around the supermarket. I should be able to wander through town. I should be able to drink a glass of wine in a local pub, should I wish to, without someone, oh, is that her 5th glass of wine? Is that her 1st glass of wine? Like, what, you know, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to get that balance between having a life, and everyone should be able to live without that worry that you're being scrutinized, but you do have that additional layer of people surreptitiously filming. We know it's even happened in classrooms that students are filming teachers surreptitiously. So why would they not do it out and about?
Well, we've got some stories about that, Liz, but I need to interrupt first of all to talk about Hachette learning, so the internet can wait. If you're looking, anyone who's listening, for practical ideas to use in the classroom, Hachette Learning has a huge range of trusted books and resources for teachers, school leaders, and schools, from evidence-informed teaching and behavior to curriculum assessment and leadership. They've got titles written by some of the best-known names in education, and they're full of strategies that everybody can put into practice right away. They also offer a growing range of CPD to help support your professional development. So browse their latest books and resources by visiting Hachette, and that's Hachette learning today. And luckily JP's not here to butcher by saying, what does he say? What does he say? Hachette? I think he says Hachette, which sounds rude. But it's
really rude French, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry. So, okay. It's Hachette, like a fancy hatchet. Anyway, right. So filming, kids, phones, internet.
Filming. I have a terrible anecdote, which is quite old actually now. I think it's like 15 years ago. It was a teacher who had taken very private pictures about her adult life on her phone. She was an English teacher. And a pupil managed to get hold of her phone and stole some of the pictures. And then they went round. And I admired that teacher because she went back to school with her head high, and everybody knew what she'd been up to in her bedroom, and she just decided to go back to school and pretend nothing had happened. I don't think I would have been able to do that.
I like to think I would. The shame isn't yours. It's the person who's
stolen the phone.
Yeah. But
that is a scary thought. And if people are asking, why did she have her phone? A lot of teachers have to use their own personal phones in their classroom because of double authentication to access, the apps they need to teach. And we would never be given a phone by school because schools don't have a budget for that. So we put ourselves at risk by using our own phone. We've had a case as well in my school where children filmed teachers and then used AI to create silly videos. Mm-hmm. So if it's just silly, it's kind of okay, but it can easily go, into the wildest territories. And one member of staff was really upset about this and felt that, her privacy had been invaded. And there's no protection because the video was taken down, but they can pop up again like mushrooms, when after a spell of rain. And I do think there is not enough protection for teachers when their images are used. I'm very against using AI to copy famous people's appearance. I think it shouldn't be done. And same with any members of staff or teachers. We should prevent AI from being able to do that. Because
there was that horrendous story, wasn't there, Ray? I think I read it because you'd sent it to us, about that teacher who had her her social media, or her picture, maybe it was just from the staff website, and an 8-year-old had used AI to turn it into some absolutely horrific graphic pornography, and shared it around. And she was humiliated. The child wasn't made to apologize because it was felt that she was too young to understand the implications of what she'd done. She'd made it. If she'd made it, she's old enough to understand the implications.
Personally, I'm and I think the main concern, and this was probably also the school's logic as well, is the safeguarding of that child, because no 8-year-old should know, have any point of reference or be able to do that in the first place. So what is going on in that house? And I'm sure that was their absolute focus, as it should be. But at the same time, and this kind of comes back to what I'm saying, it plays into everything, this idea that we're not people. Well, we're people, but we're teachers first. And we're these beings that are responsible for these things. And like, we don't have feelings, and we don't have lives, and we don't have wants, and we don't have needs, and we don't have anything. Pipe down, pipe down, pipe down. Think of the kids, think of the kids, think of the kids. And it's like, yes, you can recognize and deal with a glaring safeguarding issue appropriately, and also provide some sort of support for the staff member for whom that was an extremely traumatic experience that is having knock-on effects on her relationship with students, relationship with colleagues, how she sees the world around her and feels like she fits into it, how safe she feels on a daily basis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that one should not but I just feel like that second thing is often ignored, and that teachers are just expected to just shut up and do the job and don't have any feelings about it.
It happens with everything, doesn't it? You're expected to, if you're abused by a student, even take the social media element out of it. If a student swears at you or is really, really offensive and abusive, you are expected, and we do, to have a fresh start the next day, regardless of how horrendous it may have been as an experience. You are expected to not have any kind of trauma as a result of that, and to just carry on the next day as if you don't have any feelings and it hasn't affected you deeply, and as if it hasn't affected how safe you feel in an environment where you should be able to feel safe. You should be able to feel safe at work. You should be able to feel safe going in every day and not feel like you're in any risk psychologically, physically. But we are treated differently. And again, I suppose like the health service as well, people are expected regardless.
I mean, there's all this going on social media. I mean, it comes up every so often. Every time some statistic is published about like how racist patients are and how many people this year have demanded that a white doctor see to them, obviously it bubbles up again. And there are always some of the memes coming out in response to it, like, patient refuses medical service unless it's from a white doctor. And the meme responses are like, then die. And I'm like, well,
quite right too.
Yeah.
You don't get medical care. End of. You have this person or you get no care.
That's your choice. That's how I would run it. But doctors and nurses, they don't do that. They're expected to just take it. Yeah. Constantly.
Really good people.
Yeah, it is microaggressions like this that really destroy people's self-esteem, and then they leave. Do you remember that Indonesian nurse or Filipino nurse who was racially abused, and then she said, you know what, I'll just go back home, and then there'll be one less nurse in the NHS, which is terrible, because we need our civil servants, we need our teachers, we need our nurses, we need our fire persons. I think there's an idea that teachers know they deal with children and that they should be forgiving. And it's really corrosive, because, children are representative of the whole population. And amongst this population, you're going to have people who are very dangerous and who might commit crimes. And expecting teachers to be just, but because that person is below 18, we understand that they, I think it's really disrespectful for teachers, and also it doesn't protect teachers. But this is what happens in the classroom. But with social media, the problem is it follows you outside the classroom. And we've all been there, you know. There's someone in the comments who was saying that they have their socials on 18 plus, and still children are accessing the content. So yeah, Mr. F. I have colleagues who are gay, and they want to be on whatever social platform that allows them to meet other gay men. And they are telling me that they can't put a picture, and then they have to be extremely selective, and they put like 20 years more than what they might prefer, just because they're very scared of interacting with someone who happens to be a former pupil, for instance, because, you know, it's localized. So it creates lots of issues. And I'm wondering, I know we are all really into safeguarding, but there's lots of people who have very, very important jobs that have an impact on people's lives. I'm thinking of car mechanics. You know, they deal with our cars. It's a matter of safety. I don't think they're expected to have as much care for their clients. We all have stories of, you're a woman, you go to a car mechanics and you get, you know, charged way more than a man or something. So why are we expecting teachers to be such angels in their behavior at all times? And then other professions, they're allowed, you know, to treat others or customers in very, very dodgy ways. I just explain that to me. I know we deal with children and we want our children to be safe, but when we're outside, we should be entitled to have a privacy as anybody else, and particularly for social media. And they should have a phone number or a link where we call or contact and say, please just shut this down. I know there is, but it's only the people who work in pastoral who have access to this, not any random teachers. I don't know, if someone makes a video about us today, where do we go? It's the middle of the holidays. How do we get the video taken down, for instance? I'm just wondering, just thinking out loud.
And I don't know how easy that is on social media platforms either, because there was obviously a really horrific event that happened on TikTok Live, wasn't there, this week? And it took 34 minutes.
A celebrity did a live of him self-harming, like blades and blood, self-harming, having a complete breakdown.
It was absolutely horrific, and despite thousands and thousands and thousands of reports of people flagging it as harmful, it took 34 minutes for the stream to be ended, which is just, and that's a high profile account with thousands of reports. So small scale school things, a teacher, that they're not going to take it down.
They don't care.
They're not going to care.
So before I get into this other story, coming back to what you said, Maud, about other careers, other jobs that people do for money because we have to live, because capitalism, okay? This is a job that we do for money because we have to live, where people are responsible for things. And I think they should get more money, more credit, but somehow they are allowed to have lives. Pilots, airplane pilots, commercial airline pilots. Who else is responsible for that many people that directly, that many times a day? Who else? And they can go out and they can do whatever. No one's reporting them. No one's sacking them unless they show up drunk on the job or make a catastrophic error or pay. Maybe they have regular psych evals. I don't know. Maybe if they fail one of those, maybe they don't even have that. Maybe they just get on with things until someone complains about.
I think pilots do have quite a lot of
they should.
psych evaluations. I think they do. Yeah. I think where there have been some terrible tragedies that have happened in the past, I feel like, because I watch a lot of documentaries about stuff.
Yes, there was that German pilot. Do you remember the German pilot who was suicidal and then crashed a plane in a mountain? I think they put some more safety on it, but still,
they're not held to a higher standard in their out of work lives.
Yes,
but what they do is so important, and they're wearing the suit and they're representing the company the same way that every employee for everyone ever is, and people have to trust them. Like, if you don't trust pilots
implicitly,
that's the whole industry gone. Like we
Yes.
have to trust these people. That is so key to everything. But they're out there like it just there doesn't seem to be a lot of logic behind it why certain public sector jobs are held to these and these. And before anyone comments and complains about like these teachers need to know about Nolan and they need to know about this, we know. We're saying why.
Well,
Why us?
why? It's because it's feminized as a profession, whereas pilots is mostly men. You know, that's the male privilege there. You said something interesting, Ray. You talked about the trust. And we actually have a society that is based on trust. We decided to build it on trust. You trust your baker to use wheat flour and not bone flour to make your bread. You trust your water companies not to spill sewage in the rivers.
Do you?
You see where I'm going from?
That's
And
going well.
Yeah, you trust your nurse to give you the right medicine. Now, that's how it works. It doesn't always work because you might have people who are greedy, people who are psychopathic, people who are just bad at their jobs. But we seem to be okay with that, the way it's built. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying we should not have a society based on trust. It would mean that we're constantly having people checking what we're doing. I don't know. I don't think that would be better, but maybe we should have more training to show people how to be responsible if we expect everybody to be trustworthy. Because I do think most teachers are trustworthy through the training we do and the working conditions, but I'm not sure everybody in society is trained that way.
I do think we hold ourselves to high standards. I think we do. I think it's a natural part of, because we're holding young people to high standards all the time. I think that's something that we hold for. We have quite a lot of pride. I think we work very hard. That's why we work so hard, is because we have a really high level of pride. And I don't think most teachers would want to be viewed in a particular way that undermined how they wanted to be presented. And so but with that, with the long hours, with the high pressure that we put on ourselves as well as the profession puts on us, you also then need to be able to wind down and not be that person all the time. Because I speaking for myself, I vibrate at quite a high frequency most of the time in term time. I just feel like I'm constantly stressed all the time. And then I feel a bit better now because it's the holidays. But you kind of, it's hard to come down from that. It's hard to switch off from that. And I think when you're constantly then having to think about after 3 o'clock and you're somewhere else, who could see me? What am I doing at that particular time? Or, what shop was I in? Or can I be seen to browse the underwear in Marks and Spencer in case somebody sees me? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's such a
okay, right.
thing.
No, it's not though. Okay, so I need to, this is going to be long, strap in. I live in a Midlands town, well done. And I've been here for a couple of years, but I was in London for years and years and years before that. So I'm used to being surrounded by literally millions of people and having 1,000 different neighborhoods to go to. And in the immediate surroundings of the school, if we went to the pub near the school, which we all did, because why would you not? Obviously, you'd see students passing by, which was never really an issue. But I so very rarely, I can count on one hand in 11 years that I worked in South London, how many times I saw one of my students outside of that immediate vicinity of the school, one hand in 11 years, okay? So it was really rare. And the reason I love that so much is not because I'm some anti-community, miserable old hag, potentially also true, but that's not why. Because I grew up on an island in the Bahamas where, it's the capital. Nassau is the capital. There's hundreds of thousands of people, but it's split into these kind of, within certain circles, everybody knows everybody and everybody goes to the same places. And it feels very much like a small town. no matter which circle you're in or which circles you're in, it ends up feeling very much like a small town. And everybody knows everybody's business 9 different ways. And they'll know about what you've done and who you're with and where you were. Like, it's just blah, 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 constantly. It's like very small town vibes. And some people love that. And I do find myself missing it sometimes. But I swore to myself never again. When I left, I was like, get me off this rock. I'm going to the biggest city for university. I'm never doing this again in my life. And then I found myself in a much smaller town than London. And it's been hard because for the first time since I was a teenager, I am having to look over my shoulder and scan before I cross the road and check down the aisle before I go down there in Tesco. And like just a constant awareness, even more than the average woman has to in a public space anyway, because I just, not that I'm scared of seeing, like I see kids in town all the time, and sometimes I'm like, hey, and sometimes they ignore me, and sometimes I like walk up in front of them and annoy them for fun. Like so there's a whole range of reactions, and like I've never actually had a problem with it, but I just, sometimes you don't want to see your students in your free time. And I'm taken back to when I was a teenager. So it's extremely difficult around here. Now, story part 2. When I was growing up in high school in that small place, small school, there were like 60 kids in my year group. It was a small independent school. We used to see our teachers out all the time. So by the time we got to like year 11, 12 and 13, and we're going out, we would end up sometimes in the same place as some staff. As a teacher now, upon reflection, they hated us. Okay. We were so annoying. We were so irritating. We thought it was the funniest thing in the world. If we had had phones that could record things, we probably would have. We probably would have been really creepy about it. But because we didn't have that technology available, it was just like laughing about it together afterwards. Like I remember one time we were at this bar and we saw, my best friend and I, we saw our homeroom teacher, so our form tutor. I think we were in we must have been year 12 or 13 at the time then. And my head of house, who was a Spanish teacher, sitting up at the bar, and they were clearly multiple drinks in. And my friend and I thought it was appropriate to go up to them and intrude on their conversation for laughs and giggles. And they'd had enough drinks that they actually thought this was funny. And I remember having a whole long conversation with my Irish form tutor and my English head of house about the proper way to pronounce certain swear words. Like it was ridiculous and it was funny and everyone was having a good time. And then they hated us on Monday morning and were like, never speak of that again. And we were like, yes, sir, absolutely fine. But like usually we were really weird about it. And if we'd had phones, it would have been weirder, but we didn't have phones. So we couldn't be weird. We had to, like, unless we were going to go up to them in person and annoy them like that. And they could have turned around and told us to go away or whatever, got us kicked out or whatever. Unless we were going to actually do it face to face, there was only so much we could do. But now with social media and ubiquitous phones, anyone could be filming you at any point in time. And if I were in their position now, and I had students near me that thought it was as funny as we thought it was at the time, their phones would be out in 2 seconds. And my colleague and I would absolutely leave the bar and go somewhere else. And that is so incredibly frustrating to know that kids haven't changed, young people haven't changed, the excitement and the laughs that come from that situation haven't changed. It's the phones, it's the technology, it's the immediate, I'm going to whip my phone out and video you. Like that's what's changed, and that's what's made.
And it's the fact that with one
worse.
touch of a button, you could destroy someone's
Yes.
livelihood and
Now,
reputation. Like
story part 3.
How bad it is.
I'm so sorry, but story part 3.
No, do it.
There is a video circulating. There is a member of staff from a local school who was obviously out enjoying one night of a summer holiday, obviously had a few drinks. Now, he ran into students in town and they recorded him. And I'm not going to go into terrible specifics, but there are 2 versions of the video. One of them has him shouting and like running after him toward the camera. The longer version has those young people kicking him, throwing things, shouting things, egging him on, antagonizing him, harassing him on the street in public. And then he finally turns around and has a reaction because he's a human being. So that's making the rounds. And I've had so many reactions to this. I feel so bad for this person. I am so angry for this person. I'm wondering what parents let their fairly behaved children outside at that time of night, because it's clearly dark, and it's summer, so it's late. I'm thinking that is different, or maybe they're just different types of people, because even if we had the phones, even if we would have done that, we would have sat there giggling, whatever in the corner. We wouldn't have been physically harassing anybody. We wouldn't have been antagonizing people and recording it and laughing at them and then posting it online to cause problems for that person, because we had respect for our teachers and we weren't, our parents actually did their jobs. So I'm so angry about it, but I'm also genuinely scared as a teacher in this place, what this means for all of us. I'm like, well, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be doing this job in this place with these kids out in public. Like, I feel like, but then obviously I'm like, well, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to shut up, and I'm not going to stop walking home after I've been drinking at the pub, as I have every right to do as a grown-ass adult. I'm not going to stop because some people can't raise their children to have manners. I'm not going to stop being a human being, being an individual for life. I'm not going to do that. So there's a lot of feelings about it, and it all of this stuff is coming back to kids will be kids, but some kids can behave horribly to people, and there could be, as you said, Liz, extremely serious consequences for individuals. And some of them don't know that, and some of them just don't care. And the phones and the social media have changed so much in the past 25 years. How old am I? Over 20 years. That it is a different world being a teacher in public, especially in a small town or small town type environment, where you can come across parents, students, anyone who doesn't like your face, and they can cause real tangible problems for you career-wise. And we all have to put food on the table somehow. It's a job. So,
and I do
that's
think
the end of my saga.
Quite almost quietly insidious about that as well. Like, students we recognize, but we don't always recognize parents, but they recognize us. And so you could not even know that someone is filming you, someone who has a vendetta. And we do know that's happening. That is happening in places, that vendettas, we see the build up in local social media groups, and the kind of hatred and the bile that does come directed at certain teachers. And you do worry that someone with an ulterior motive could do something to ruin your reputation.
Because they do. And if they're determined, you'd have no knowledge of it. And it's that thing, like, if someone's determined enough to do it, they're going to do it. They're going to find something. Dig and you shall find dirt.
A way. Yeah.
They'll find a way. They will always find a way if someone's determined enough. Like, you could be the most squeaky clean, impeccable person with a spotless record and a glowing stellar reputation, and everybody loves you, and you never step a toe out of line or say anything controversial or do anything questionable. They'll find something, and if they can't find it, they'll edit it, so they'll create it with AI now. Like, there's almost nothing we can do. If someone is determined to do X, Y, and Z, they will do it. Yeah.
Where are the protections, and how do you?
But that's
how do we
criminal
protect
acts,
ourselves?
isn't it? The throwing things at someone in the street. It's antisocial behavior. This is potentially criminal. I guess we are talking about the fact that maybe there's a feeling that there's more and more antisocial behavior. I don't know. Some people say that it's since COVID. I do think the location has a big influence. You mentioned smaller towns. I know there was a case in rural mountain village in France. Primary school head teacher was gay, and she was living with her partner, and she was harassed by the whole community, and in the end she committed suicide. So it does sometimes lead to horrendous consequences when there is stalking, harassing, antisocial behavior, and there is no recourse. You can't go to the police because they don't take you seriously, or you go to SLT and maybe you are told, oh, it's only children. So this is definitely, we need to address the law and also processes implementing the law.
Is that the
Because,
problem? Because it's so
yeah,
commonplace now that people don't take it seriously, because it's like, oh, you know, just suck it up, buttercup. It's happening to everyone. Like, just deal with it. Just deal with it. That's the issue. And it's when it could potentially be career ending, that is serious and it should be taken seriously.
or life ending.
Yes.
Or life. Well, in the example that you said, absolutely. I remember someone said, and I say this to students all the time now about how they use their words and the decisions that they make. And I said, I want you to imagine that every single thing that you say could be the last thing that somebody hears. Like, are you willing for that thing that you've said to be the last thing that person hears? Because if you're not, you don't say it. You don't say it. And
hashtag be kind.
Yeah, hashtag be kind. And yeah, I was about to say something else then, but I won't say it. Yeah, it's
there's a LinkedIn user, that's their name, who says that she's in Tenerife enjoying her holidays, but she was at the airport thinking, oh my God, are there any children? We've all had friends who went somewhere nice, sunny and far away, and they realized that there was one of their pupils in the next
Morocco
hotel room. Yeah, exactly.
Morocco.
So it does happen. Did it happen to you, Ray?
Marrakesh airport. On the flight back, I looked over and was like, why? Why?
There's no such thing as a coincidence, so there must be a reason.
Yeah, it happened to me when we were on the baby moon, and we were in a really, really remote place. Like, the chance of being seen by anybody was tiny. And then I actually didn't see anybody, and it was only when I got back that a student went, I saw you in that castle. Like, I was just like,
I love okay, fairness to the kids, I love when they know how creepy it sounds and they really lean into it. They're like, miss, I saw you. It's like, oh my God.
It was really quite frightening. I was like, okay, did you have a nice holiday? Like, let's just turn this for a bit.
They make it so weird, don't they? And
yeah,
buddy, miss, and you were buying something in that shop. Yes? Did you say hi? No, I just looked at you from afar. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's because I do think, I know, Maud, I think it was you who was saying earlier, they should know, the older ones should know, of course we have a life outside, of course we don't live in our cupboards, but they struggle with that. And to be fair, I do think I remember struggling with that concept. I remember seeing my English teacher driving his VW van once and being like, oh my God, he drives a car. Like, oh, and of course he does, because how does he get to work? Of course he does. Like, so
you
stupid,
weirdo.
Yeah, see,
I didn't have that. I didn't have that because I grew up where everybody, like, okay, another weird story. I think I was in year 6 or 7 at the time. I can't remember. Anyway, and my parents went away somewhere. They were away, and they needed somebody to basically to stay in the house and look after me. Because it was still term time and I was still going to school. So list of things that would never happen now, but in like 1998 or in the Bahamas in an independent school, this is what happened. They asked my teacher to come and stay at our house, and she did. So my teacher, this is why I feel like I may have been the year above. No, I wasn't, because my best friend was still there. So she was literally in my class. She was my year 6 teacher. Shout out to Marla. She came and stayed in my parents' room of my house while my parents were away, and obviously like drove me in and to and from school every day. And like, I remember my best friend came home with us one day with me and my teacher to my house, and we're like all hanging out by the pool. And like, I was acutely aware that it was strange because none of that had never happened when I'd been in previous schools in Canada before, but somehow here, this was like a normal or at least acceptable thing to happen. I don't think it was normal, but it was like no one had a problem with it. They checked with the head teacher, like, and just for the record, it wasn't actually that nothing happened. Like, it was totally fine. But it was it was a bit strange. But again, things that would never happen now in this place in this time.
Yeah, I've got a story like that. Maud, you speak.
No, I'm used to seeing teachers in their natural environment because my mum was a primary school teacher, so most of her friends were teachers. So I've never had that boundary, you know, like, oh, these are teachers and these are normal people. I remember for a long time there was my primary school teacher would pick me up on the way to school because my mum was a single mum and she needed help when she worked far. So my primary school teacher would pick me up and then we would go to school together. So I've never felt that teachers were a different species. But I know some of my pupils see us as completely different sort of people.
We're not human, are
we?
We're
not human. We're just like...
It circles back to what Ray was talking about earlier. We're not supposed to be human. We're only supposed to exist, particularly at secondary school. I think you only exist in like 45-minute cycles. So you only exist for that like short period of time. And then you completely, like coming out of the cupboard, boom, like I exist. And then I'm just going to go back in. And it's really difficult to understand that they might operate in a different way. And I think we make human references though. Like I talk about my son at work all the time, and I just say, oh, it's, you sound just like my 6-year-old, because I like to think that makes me sound a little bit more human. Obviously you don't overshare, but just little tidbits of information to just make you seem a little bit less like a robot and a little bit more like a human being. But I think it is difficult to comprehend that idea. And I think if they did see us a bit more as human, they perhaps wouldn't be quite as unpleasant to us sometimes, because there would be that understanding. And I think there is a difference in upbringing there as well, in terms of how that's viewed. And like, all people are worthy of respect. All people at all times are worthy of respect. You treat everyone with kindness. Everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about. Just go out and treat everyone with respect, regardless of whether you think they're a robot for 45 minutes at a time or what. You're good to be, and you can see the difference with that. Those who don't have that sort of boundary and that understanding perhaps are more likely to be the ones who cross that line and find things funny that aren't funny at all.
That's a very good point, actually. I always felt really uncomfortable when I had friends who would mock teachers or belittle them for whatever reason they had, because I knew them in their human capacity. But you're right when you say that some families do not see us as human beings who have a job. And maybe because of past experiences, maybe because they really suffered at school, they really hate teachers as a group. And I feel
as a group,
they really see us as one monolithic group, and we are the enemy. And when you make a phone call, they're already tense and super reactive, ready
to fight.
Yes, and I never understood that, because obviously my mom was a teacher, so I know they're human beings, but it's so difficult when you face someone who starts considering you as an enemy. How do you manage this?
If you start from that point, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because it's really hard to fight against that. If you start on neutral ground, which is how we start our classes at the beginning of the year. In fact, the less I know about a student, the better, because I like to be able to start with a completely clean slate and just just be like, if someone starts to tell me, I'm like, whoa, don't tell me anything. I want to make my own decisions, because I need to make sure that I'm making my own decisions, because that's easier. It's much easier to start off that way. But if you're starting with negative assumptions before you've even walked through the door, before they've even picked up that telephone and answered that phone call to you, before they've even read your email, if they already hate you because you're a teacher, what can you
But
do
it's
with
so
that?
there's so I mean, well, you diffuse and you placate and you whatever until
You
you can get
try.
them on side to actually have a meaningful conversation. But it's exhausting. And you can always tell someone who, as soon as someone's like, teachers this, I'm like, you clearly don't have any teachers in your family. You don't have any close friends you don't actually know any teachers, do you? And that's why you're able to maintain that impression of teachers as some sort of evil monolith. Just like as soon as someone's like, doctors this and doctors that, I'm like, by all means, slag off the education system or the way the NHS is working. Like, by all means, do those things. But as soon as you're like, teachers this or doctors that, I'm like, well, there are obviously no doctors in your family then, but are there? Like, you don't know any of these people. Like, you don't, if you knew any of the people who had these jobs, you would understand that they're human beings doing a job that is trying to help people. And you don't know that. So it can be really, really frustrating.
What do we do about, so do we stop living our lives? Do we continue living our lives and just hope for the best in the outcome of it? What do we do?
I think what we do in the first instance is that you look up Hachette Learning for all of your CPD needs, because there are so many practical ideas that you can use in your classroom, huge range of trusted books and resources, evidence-informed teaching about behavior and curriculum, assessment and leadership, etc. Please look up Hachette Learning. They will solve so many of your problems. And then beyond that, I honestly don't know, because as I've said, things have changed so much with the phones and the video and the social media and the internet and the perpetual, like, it's a panopticon. Stepping outside of your house, like, someone's going to see you, which means everyone could see you do anything. And it's like, how do you live like that?
Well, it's like being a celebrity. We have to be like Kate Middleton, and just always be perfect. You know, when you put the bins out, full makeup
without
on,
the money,
nice outfit,
though, like
the
without
money, the nanny, the
comes
designer,
with it,
the
without
clothes.
the really good quality of life.
No, I mean, obviously it's not possible, and I don't think she's happy anyway. That pressure must be horrendous. We do definitely need to be careful on our social media. Saying that, I wanted to ask you, do you have children or pupils who notice that you're on Teacher Talk Radio, and do they mention it?
I think more know than have said, but I've had two students, and it's the way they both said it has allowed me to not lie while also completely lying. They've both come up to me and been like, "Miss, do you have a podcast?" And I'm like, "No." No, I do not have a podcast. I do not have a podcast. Sit down. But I know exactly what they mean, and the answer should be yes. But
they didn't know it was a radio chat show.
And I don't have it. It's not mine. Like, I'm just here sometimes.
But yes, it's difficult when you are active on social media as a teacher, talking about education, teaching, everything education, because the children will find you. And I have a few pupils who said, "Miss, you have a podcast about education." And I was like, "Yeah. Did you listen to it?" And they were like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Oof, you need to find something better to do with your Sundays."
Hobby, babe.
I'm like, seriously? But I'm sure they just listened to 2 minutes and then got bored.
Yeah, listen to it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anything we say should be fine for any pupils we have. I think it should be very boring for most of them.
Yeah.
But it is difficult when you start building a presence in your field online, because things can be misunderstood or repeated or used maliciously, as we know.
Or the video. This is what concerns me. And like, as far as I'm aware, it hasn't happened. But like, because these are all video now, they have been for a long time. There's so many videos online of our faces, and it would be so easy. It would be so easy. And I don't want to be in a position where I have to like defend myself against some AI. That is just not something that I want to have in my life. Not not one of life's great experiences that I want to have, but it would be so
Seems like
easy.
they could simply do that from a staff picture on the school website these days.
But it would be less convincing. There's so much data here and all these, like, it would be way more convincing now that all of these are here rather than just going by the one staff photo. So it like that does, but again, am I going to not do something for myself as a person, as an individual? Am I not going to engage in my hobby because of the potential that other people could try and ruin it for me or do horrible things that are actually illegal? No, I'm not going to.
As long as your hobby's not OnlyFans. That's probably.
I don't think Teachers Talk Radio is OnlyFans. No.
Not quite as lucrative either, because that teacher she was earning like £60,000 a week or something, wasn't she? And I was like, why do you even want to keep your job?
Yeah, girl, quit.
Yeah, I'm going to say you can jack it in now. That was a poor phrase to use, wasn't it?
Oh my God. Who's the English teacher there?
Oh gosh, not me. I'm denying. Oh dear. I don't know why she was worried about losing her job. I really don't.
Maybe like, because when she enjoyed it. Money. Because I mean, the joy of teaching part-time is that you really get to do something you love without it affecting your health.
Yeah.
So I can understand she wanted to have a foot in both worlds, but obviously she couldn't.
Not those worlds, not at the same time.
No, they're a bit too different. They're a bit too different, yeah. And also as a feminist, can't really justify it. Objectifying your own body in a man's world doesn't sit well with being someone who wants to empower women. But yeah, that's another kettle of fish, that topic. The only thing I hope is that we've made clear that we need to respect teachers' privacy while allowing them to, be professional and having a private life. Saying that, we know we have to, fit the standards. So we shouldn't be doing some crazy stuff and taking crazy, making some crazy decisions in our spare time. But if that happens, we should also be judged with kindness and leniency, because we're human beings, right?
Absolutely. It is that humanity element of it, isn't it? Everybody makes mistakes.
Yes.
Like everybody, and you don't, if you do make a mistake or you make a misstep or whatever, depending on what that is, of course. But if you, to a certain extent, if you make a reasonable misstep that a lot of other people could make, such as having too much to drink on a night out with your friends, letting your hair down, that's an acceptable mistake for a person to make, I think, and one that could easily be forgiven. Like if I saw one of my son's teachers out and about, like having had too much to drink, I'd be like, let me buy you a drink. Let me buy you a drink. You work really hard. Here you go. Have a glass of wine on me. Thank you so much for everything that you do. You let your hair down. You have a great time.
I mean, I've got a photograph of my father squirting whipped cream down my high school math teacher's shirt. So,
what teachers are people in the Bahamas? I mean, seriously.
So many things, Maud. I'll find it. I'll send it you. Yeah, teachers are people and they have lives and relationships and mistakes and all sorts outside of their jobs, which are jobs, for God's sake.
We haven't had vows, No. We are not even like doctors. I'm surprised, by the way, of what you said. I thought they had a vow of confidentiality. I didn't know they had.
That's part of it.
Isn't there like the Hippocratic Oath or something like that?
I think it comes from that or something. That's because the Hippocratic Oath, obviously is slightly different, but it's the Declaration of Geneva. Okay, so it was adopted in 1948 by the World Medical Association. In response to medical atrocities committed during World War II.
It's fair enough. The Nazi doctors like Mengele and all that.
Fair enough. fair enough.
Yeah,
But
that seems right.
And but it's also in the context. Oh, sorry.
I'm hold on. This is the first bit. As a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity, which sounds lovely and noble, but like maybe they don't want to dedicate 24/7, 365 to the service of humanity. Maybe they just want to like do that during
My
their shift
professional life,
and then go
we should
home.
add professional.
Yeah. Professional life, no problem with that. But this idea that you have to like sign over yourself.
But it's like you can't, if you're a medical professional, you cannot abandon an emergency, can you? So like if you're in a restaurant and an emergency arises, you are expected to jump in to help. If you're on a plane, it's like that sort of cliche, isn't it? Is anyone a doctor?
Is anyone a doctor?
And it's like, yeah, I am. I was having a nice meal.
Again,
but come on
still. Then. And then there's loads of there's a thing about confidential. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me even after the patient has died, etc., conscience, dignity, blah 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 blah. Like it makes sense, and in the context of post World War II, it makes a lot of sense. But it was just that the way it's phrased.
It's big.
I was just like, oh wow, guys, we have something in common. I will never be a doctor. You are so much smarter than I am, but we have something in common. Like,
and I'm wondering
expectation.
I'm just wondering if the confidentiality thing can be amended slightly. What if you have a patient who's got psychosis and tells you, "Oh, the voices have told me to do this again," and do you have the possibility to call the police or?
If they're a danger to themselves or others. Yeah.
Good.
If you believe that if you honestly believe that they are, yes.
That's reassuring.
Way as us, in terms of
I think that's more just like, oh, doc, I'm dying. Don't tell my husband my son isn't his. I think it's that kind of thing rather than like actual medical.
And also not telling anyone that you have a diagnosis when you don't want it known.
That's what
I think it's been actually that one. There was a case with a man who was giving HIV to his partners on purpose. And now they can. I think I need to check that out. But I think now doctors can actually do it when they think there's a reason to protect other patients. It's tricky, isn't it, human beings? There's always a new situation when you think, oh, we need to adapt the law because... And maybe with social media, as you were saying, Ray, and teacher privacy, we're just going to have a new set of laws because people misuse social media and videos and AI so much.
This is why a social media ban for under 16s would be an excellent step in the right direction. But fundamentally, and a lot of people have said this about the ban, the tech companies need to have better regulations put on them for...
they also need to pay their taxes,
people.
You know?
Some things that
we all do.
Very many regulations for big tech needs to happen. Because that's where it originates, because it's going to solve an under 16 problem, but it's not going to solve a vengeful parent problem.
Yes. Yeah. But that 8-year-old who did a sexual AI video of a teacher wouldn't have been able... I mean, the problem is these kids always find a way to access... And I'm saying these kids because they are in an environment where they can. Because I think...
They can't attach something to an email. They don't know how to do that.
Or just put a title in the subject and then write the email in the body of the... That's just impossible. But creating an AI video about a teacher, age 8...
Great.
That's wild, isn't it? It's wild.
At the same time, both the most digitally literate and illiterate generation ever, which is completely insane.
But we're the only... but we're the only ones that have that, like... I mean, I couldn't send it. I wouldn't know how to send it. What even is it? A telegram?
I think you need Morse code.
No, you'd have to go to the place and then they tap it out and then I don't even know what that is.
Transcribe it.
I could barely use a fax machine the last time I had to, which was like
I've never used one actually.
In my gap
15,
year when
16,
I worked for a
17 years
solicitor.
ago. Yeah. I've used a fax machine before, but like don't ask me to try now. But we've grown up with all these things that are happening right now. So we're like, I think we're just aging out of the now there's all these newfangled technologies that we don't understand. But that's kind of like the first time that's happened for us because we learned our parents' stuff when we were really young and we grew up with everything else. And now we're like, because we don't understand something for once. So
But
the
we can
millennials are
read-
shook us.
We can read the clock and do our laces.
Oh, well, there's that.
It's a good skill.
There's that.
We're in that period at the moment. I'm in
Read
the
an
teaching
analog.
of that at the moment. Teaching the
The
tie
laces.
and teaching to
Oh.
tie laces. Yeah.
Double, under,
Do you know what?
over.
No. Can I tell you something? This is like not even in the top 10 most embarrassing things about me, but it probably should be. I can't tie my laces. I genuinely cannot tie them. I feel like I may have admitted this before. I had so many meltdowns as a small child. And I think my mother had so many meltdowns trying to teach me like the most basic human thing. And eventually we both gave up. And I just bunny eared it. I made 2 bunny ears and I tie them in a knot. And you know what? If it works, it's not stupid.
You just
So I've done that
invented
my
your
entire
own.
life.
That's
No.
fine.
It's quite a common thing. Like a lot of people do that, but I've just
Really?
like some people have over my 38 years, some people have watched me do that and been like, sorry, can you just do that again? Like, what did you just do? Can you not tie your shoelaces? You're a grown adult. Like, they're not coming undone. I don't know. Why do you have a problem?
It's being
But that's the
creative.
stage you do
Yeah.
after anyway. That's the double knot thing that you do after
Yeah, so
you
you
tied
just
them
do 2
anyway.
of them.
So you've just
Why are
yeah,
you going?
you've just gone straight
Why
to
are
it.
you doing
Yeah.
this with your laces when you could just?
So true. So true.
What are you doing?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you're.
I say that
Streamline the whole
that like
process.
I'm defending it. It's because I literally cannot. I'm not
That's,
physically capable
that's
of doing the
fine.
other
We
thing.
can't do everything. We all have our special things. You were not a sailor in a past life. That's fine.
I'm an
Or
embarrassment to my
a
grandfather,
lace
yeah.
maker.
What I think my favourite bit about that story though is Ray prefacing it with, "This isn't even in the top 10 most embarrassing things about me." So now I really want to know.
I'll make you a list. I'll make you a list of a top 10 and I'll find that picture of my father with the
The
cream.
squirting whipped cream.
squirty cream. The squirty
Yes.
cream in the
Oh
can.
my god! But
Yeah.
to protect your privacy, Ray, you don't need to give us the full 10. Just 2 is fine.
Okay.
Oh, so
On that
good,
note.
really good. Oh dear. I don't know whether we want to touch on the big story that's broken today very quickly about the attendance thing. I don't know if there's a huge amount to say about it that's different to what we've talked about before, but there are just a couple of elements. So there was a BBC report that's broken today. It's been quite a big story on the BBC about these new attendance targets that are going to be individualized for schools dependent on context of the school, which is a good thing. It should be based on context of schools because every school's got a different context, so that's fair enough. However, we're having this age-old debate about attendance again, which it just really grinds my gears because I'm just like, you can put whatever statistic on it you want. Until we deal with the heart of the issue, which is causing the attendance issues, you can put any number on it that you want. It's not going to solve it. Do you really genuinely think that schools aren't doing everything that they can to try and get attendance up? And just because that attendance figure is in place and kids are physically in the building doesn't mean that the learning is happening, doesn't mean that they're not internally truanting or... Do you know what I mean? It's not a proof of engagement in their learning. So it just is such an arbitrary thing that government, cabinet, whatever, after they're all obsessed with it and they won't let it drop. And I just get so irritated by it because I just think nobody's actually looking at the real problems because it's easy to say, isn't it? Oh, schools have got to raise their attendance. Okay. Do you want to have a go at telling us how? do you want to actually look at the real problems in school and think about why these kids aren't attending all the time and what might need
No.
to happen to change that situation?
No, they don't.
And apparently the solution is having more after school clubs on a Friday.
Oh God.
That's
Okay, right.
going
So
to miraculously solve it.
this is the thing. Like, I feel like there already are targets, right? So you're going to tailor them to the school and give more data tools to cool, because that's what schools have time to do, and attendance officers have time to do, and head teachers have time to do, is look at more spreadsheets about numbers when they don't have 1,000 other things to be doing otherwise. Get in the sake. But the Friday comment is new. So they're suggesting that schools have more clubs, etc., on a Friday, because Friday is a weak spot for attendance. They're saying if you have more clubs on a Friday, students would be more likely to come into school.
It's just so misguided. I don't know who's come up with that either. Like, who sat in an office somewhere and gone, do you know what? Do you know what our problem is? We don't have enough clubs on a Friday. Too many schools are finishing at normal time on a Friday and letting families start their weekend together at a reasonable time. God forbid that families might like to have family time, and teachers in their own private lives might like to go home to their own children and their own families and start their weekend
Or
at a reasonable
Liz,
time.
or an Aperol spritz at the pub, because that is just as valid. Your personal time is your personal time, however you choose to spend it. Now, the thing that really kills me about this is they're suggesting Friday, and it's an encouragement, not a like demand, but they're suggesting more after school clubs on a Friday. Awesome. It's summer. The timetable's been done. The 1265 have been allocated. When? Who is going to, are you going to magic up staff from thin air and sprinkle them into school for Friday afternoon? Who is going to supervise this? I'm not. I'll be at the pub with my Aperol spritz. Why are you announcing this in the summer? Why do they continue to do this? It is so infuriating. So infuriating. Sorry, I'm calm now.
No, that's fine.
But they do that every year. Every single year. They save all their biggest educational decisions for the first 3 weeks of the summer holidays. And it's like, what do you want us to do with that information? Why?
Well, it's not implemented yet. And why clubs? I trained to do summer camps when I was 16, and I did it. But I've moved on. Now I teach a subject, 2 subjects. I would like to focus on my subjects. I don't really want to be a club leader. It's a different job. It's more childcare, entertainment, or hobby driven. But this is not what I want to do when I'm in school. When I'm in school, I want to focus on the deep diving into my subject. So I don't know why this is coming to us again. So there's an issue there. And then second, why are people missing Friday afternoon? I take it they want to beat the traffic. They want to start their weekend early. Maybe they're exhausted.
Tired.
They're tired. So why don't we try a 4-weekday, just try it for a year. Let's see. Let's be revolutionary. Let's all make all schools 4 days a week for a year and see what happens. I'm sure it would be a great
about
experiment.
The school holidays. Can you imagine if we went to a 4-day week for students? I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it would solve an awful lot of problems.
It would.
But I think ultimately the inevitable backlash
They'll make us pay for it.
What am I supposed to do with my child on that 5th day? Well,
I don't
other
know.
countries should go to
Clubs.
Your child, I don't know.
Isn't it clubs? Like a rugby club,
do
cricket club,
stuff.
more football clubs for girls, swimming clubs, hire young graduates
that is
who are
such a big,
looking for
there's
a job.
so many things. I mean,
Lovely.
a really good starting point would be if we had any of these things in place already, if any of these places still existed or had the budgets to expand or accommodate that, but no one does because austerity has destroyed us. So until the wider systems are fixed and parents actually have supports in place and kids have places that they actually want to be other than scrolling their phone in their bedroom, then schools can do blah, 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 all they want. It's not going to change anything. We can't implement any sort of revolutionary attempt like that without all these being in place first, which I would love to happen. But do I ever think it's going to happen in this country anytime soon? No. Because there are a lot of talk, and there's so much that you have to build up in order to make that work, unless you're trying to make it a disaster. That it's just, I just don't think that's going to happen. But that would be the ideal.
And we also don't seem to appreciate the fact that young people should have hobbies and they should have skills beyond the academic. They should have interests. They should be broad as young people, and it should be encouraged for them to do these other things because they are very valuable. They're good for your mental health. They are good for you to be a well-rounded individual. You know, when you interview at Oxbridge, they're interested in your wider credentials, aren't they? It's not just about the academics. They do want you to have done other things as well. And I'm using a very academic example for a reason.
You're right.
To suggest
You're
that
right.
even strictly academic, I mean, these hugely appreciated academic institutions want people to be well-rounded individuals. So why are we not valuing it when they're young and they can really enjoy it and sink their teeth into it? Why couldn't they do a cookery school on a Friday where they really learn to hone their craft in the kitchen? Why couldn't they do woodwork or something like that on a Friday, or art, or absolutely drama?
Scouts.
Why couldn't they do something that they gardening,
forest,
whatever
school.
it is?
So
Lovely things.
My one of my many primary schools, this was the first school I went to in the Bahamas. So again, it was small and it was independent, and it was also run by a very odd woman. But that school did what a lot of like private schools and stuff tend to do, or at least used to do when I was that age. Friday afternoons were club time, like lesson stopped Friday morning. Friday morning was the end of it. And then all of Friday afternoon was clubs, and you got to choose what that was. And there were sports clubs and there were art clubs, and there were like, one time we painted a huge mural on the side of one building, and that went on for a term because we had to design it, and then we had to sketch it out, and then we had to put it on the thing, and then we had to paint it. And then as it got to the end of, I think that was like 2 terms, and then the end of the year, Friday afternoons were play rehearsals, and the whole school, because this was a small, like this worked for that environment, but it would obviously not work in most schools in this country. The whole school was involved in the play somehow. So like Friday afternoons were preparation for that. So so many places do it. And you could take that afternoon thing, and rather than making or implying that staff should stay after school in their personal time, just make it. And that, I feel like that would be a compromise between the currently not feasible 4-day week without lots of stuff being put in place, and the full 5 days plus extra club. I think if you just had Friday afternoons as club time, or even like most of Friday, like lessons 1 and 2 or whatever your school is, and then club sessions, I feel like that would be a reasonable compromise, because loads of places do it. And it's less learning time lost, but actually they're learning plenty. Thank you. Just not Macbeth. And they would come in if they got to choose their activity for the afternoon and they were engaged with it. But I think maybe if they didn't get, it swings and roundabouts, right? Like you'd have students that didn't get their first choice of that, and then they wouldn't come in on Friday at all. So, and you can't please everyone. The world seems to think schools can please everyone and do everything for everyone all the time. We can't. We can't. There are logistical, infrastructural, etc. limitations to everything. So not everyone would get their first choice. And those students might not come in at all. So I feel like it would balance out, but it's worth trying. I don't know.
I think it is worth trying, but Friday afternoon clubs, as it's been proposed, that's not the solution. No, like the way, like I just think extending Friday is not the way to get the best out of anybody. Everybody's broken. By Friday lunchtime, everybody is done. That's why when you get your timetable and you look at your classes, Friday period 5 and 6, you're like, Okay, how am I going to be strategic about
I
how
u-
the learning takes place?
I
this
usually had
afternoon?
year 9 or year 11 on a Friday last in the afternoon. That was so hard. They
That's what I had
just
last
don't
week.
have any energy left, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, and they
Mm.
giggle.
Yeah. Well, they think it's the weekend. As soon as you get to Friday lunchtime, they've decided it's already the weekend. I've just got to survive through the next 2 periods, and everybody's just playing a survival game, which would be a lot more fun if everybody was doing a skill or a craft or a hobby activity, because those are valuable. I don't understand why we've reduced everything to. I mean, there was that article, wasn't there, in a Spectator this week or last week? I've lost all track of time. I don't know what's going on with Michael Gove talking about how everything. I know it's going to trigger.
I can't. I'm trying to roll my eyes further back in my head. I can't actually.
But it's just
It's
like
not doing
how
him justice.
it's the idea that everybody should be academic was fundamentally the message in there. And if everybody isn't academic, my favorite sentence in that article was, they're not being taught properly.
Yeah, it's fascinating how some people have their own perspective and they absolutely want to impose it on everybody else. Isn't that crazy? It's like me, I like ballet and quilting and going to weird museums and visiting ruins. And everybody's going to have to do the same as me. Can you imagine?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How sad and how restricted this is.
But also, we know with the rise of AI, we've been told. I had a meeting about it a year ago, 2 years ago at work, where we have explicitly been told that there are a lot of jobs that currently exist at the moment that are based on academia, which will not exist because they will be done by AI, because companies will be saving money and
like
AI
teaching,
will be doing it for
by the
them.
way.
Like,
Yeah, apparently.
humanoid robots replacing
Yes.
us.
Cool.
Great. Well, we are humanoid robots, apparently, bringing this conversation full circle. What
In the
difference does
cupboard.
it make?
Out, back in the
Power
cupboard.
down. Power up. Out we come. They wouldn't notice the difference, apparently. They try and dismantle us like they would dismantle a robot anyway, just emotionally. But we need people. The only professions that are not going to be replaced by AI are carpentry, plumbing, electricians, because they are going to physically need people to do those jobs. Robots are not going to be able to do them. AI is not going to be able to do them. So why are we discouraging this? I feel like the move from Andy Burnham to move everyone more towards that is much more reflective of what our young people are going to be dealing with in years to come when there are no jobs. So why can we not move to this 4-day week with the 5th day doing something that is going to upskill them? Yeah,
project-based learning. Look at your area around you and devise a project that is solutionary, that helps the environment, the people, and nature and humans. This can be done.
Are engaged with things like that.
Yes, they love it.
Do something that they can see affects them directly. They really do get stuck into the task.
But you need small groups. You need a teacher. You need, when you do a project-based learning, you need a lot of resources. You might need a 3D printer. You might need woodwork. You might need, and that costs more money than pen and paper, and just teacher-led. So we hit the same problem. We can do that if we have small classes in size, and if we are trained and we have time to prepare properly. And I think this is the difference between an independent school learning where you have resources and the kind of battery farming where you have your booklet and that's it, and you'll learn.
But the irony of that is that in a private school environment, they would be pushed more towards academic things and not towards this sort of endeavor. So it's just frustrating, isn't it? I know it's Tom hates us coming back to the idea of funding, but funding does matter.
Funding. Some independent schools do way more project-based learning, though. They also promote drama, they do music. I feel like they do the arts way more.
They do. They do. They do.
Because their children have time potentially to do these expensive
They do
hobbies.
creative. Yeah, they've got the money. It's not just the schools that have the money and the resources and the playing field and the equipment. It's the parents that can afford the tuition or the
guitar lessons,
the kids, or they can. So it plays off each other. Meanwhile, I mean, the school I worked at for 11 years in South London, there was a singing teacher that used to come in, and she's worked with so many famous people. Like she's really successful at what she does career wise, and she's got the proof to back it up. And she also works in schools. She works with young people and teaches singing lessons to young people. And she was always saying that it's so sad that there's so much talent. There was so much talent in our school. It was a girls' school, and there were so many girls that wanted to sing, because there's statistically more girls than boys that want to do that. And so many of these girls were super talented. They could be really, really outstanding, but they needed the training. They needed this, they needed that, and their families just couldn't afford it. So, she'd pull strings or get donations or do things for less or for free or whatever. And but it was like, and she'd say, meanwhile, you've got these at some of the private schools, the independent schools that she goes to as well. You've got all these parents shelling out all this money for their kids and pay for this and pay for that and pay for that. The kids never sit down. They never rest. They never relax.
But they've also got connections as well, because so often it's who you know.
These kids that were paying for her training them to sing, they didn't have talent like in their body. And there are these really gifted kids at our school that just couldn't afford it. And she was like, the irony is, like, you get these schools that already have music and singing and choirs and stuff, like that's all those kids need, because they're never going to be the top of it. They don't have the potential to be singers professionally, but their parents are throwing money at it because they have all the money to throw at it. And then these kids are they could be so good. It could be that this could be their job, their career, their passion. They could be really good at it, and they don't have, the school doesn't, it's totally backwards, but that is just the way of everything.
But it's like not a meritocracy, is it?
No.
Because those who really have the potential can't actually nurture it.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
Really sad. Yeah.
Hopefully, if we push vocational studies, but they should also take into account that the arts bring a lot of money to the UK. The UK is well respected in the world for its literature, the period drama, acting, so many things, music. It's well regarded. So we should treat art, drama, music as a vocational study, not just think woodwork, builders, plumbers. We need these people because they produce a lot of things that people want to buy. People want to watch movies made in the UK. People love literature. People love British music, British pop music. So we definitely need to nurture this as well.
This is how people spend their leisure time.
Yeah.
So
this is what makes us happy.
What would people fill it with if these people didn't exist who are creating these things?
We need to. I'm going to start quoting Dead Poet Society again. So we need to stop. Also after half.
That's a nice reference. Lots of safeguarding issues in that movie.
Oh yes.
As a teacher, you're like,
watching it back, you're like,
don't let them go outside in the woods at night. It's not a good idea. With candles.
Stop now. Yeah.
There's lots of things from like the 80s and 90s that are really problematic when you watch them again now, though, aren't there? You're just like, oh God, I'm watching this completely differently now.
Yeah.
With
cycling without a helmet and an alien at the front.
But there's problematic like that. And then there's like, you watch some things and you're like, how did this ever get made? How, of all the people that had to greenlight this, of all the people that have their names attached, like, how did this ever get made?
Even like one of the things that I really loved as a child was Big. Big is wildly problematic. Wildly problematic. Ray's looking puzzled.
I haven't. It's with
Tom
I'm trying to
Hanks.
think if I've
Danny
seen it.
DeVito.
No, I know
isn't it?
what it is. I
Oh,
know what it is.
you're
but
looking for what's problematic. I don't see it either. What's the
Well,
problem?
so
I just don't think I've
obviously
seen it.
she's ultimately like a 30-year-old woman who is having a relationship with a 12-year-old boy.
Oh my
like,
God. Okay.
because he's
No, I
Oh
haven't seen
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I
because
see what you mean.
he's wished to be an adult, and so
Oh,
he's
yeah,
become an adult
yeah.
overnight, and then he goes out into the world of work and he gets a job in like a toy company, and then he goes to all the like parties and things like that, and then he starts a relationship with a co-worker, and it's so problematic. So problematic.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-mm.
And it's just like watching it as a kid, you were just like, oh, this is fun. And then watching it as an adult, you're like, oh my God, this is horrendous. This is horrendous.
Well,
So-
there's a time and a place. Remember, in the Roman times, people would marry.
Not
age
a good
13
example
or
to use.
15
Don't
years.
even finish that sentence. No. Let's not talk about. No. I want to know. No. We're not talking about ancient Rome. We're not talking about ancient Greece. They were no.
Yeah, ancient Greece is also
a long
problematic.
time ago.
Nope. Yeah.
True. True.
Okay. Can we just pivot for a second, because we got a comment here. As long as your social media is locked down and you don't say anything illegal, racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, etc., I don't see why there should be an issue online. So I think this is coming back to the original, the first topic, which has been running throughout everything, I suppose. But I think this is
Define illegal.
right. People like to reach for things, and also I have a problem. Okay, so social media is locked down. Like I've got one account. I mean, I just closed my LinkedIn because it's summer and I don't want to be looking at people's AI written BS on my summer holiday. Like I might not even open it again. It's just like LinkedIn's a joke. But I also have a different account. It's Facebook. I have a Facebook account that is very much like you can't see any pictures or anything that I post unless I like make individual ones public. So you can see like my profile picture and stuff, but I post links and stuff on there, but it's mostly just like photos of my life. And those are no one's business except the people that I actually know. Like I don't have anyone on Facebook that I don't actually know. I know a lot of people. I've been a lot of places and I've been alive a while, but I know all those people. I met all those people. They're not strangers. So it's like that's my personal life. And no one has a right to, like, that is not available for public consumption. But then you've got like LinkedIn. Like I have a LinkedIn account. It's just probably dead. That's a professional site where you do professional things. So like us, for example, we have our own employers, but we also have TTR. So there's like multiple links there that people can like make assumptions from, or which have nothing to do with each other. Like people can do more than one job or have more than one, or be self-employed and do something completely different. Or like there was a commenter earlier about LinkedIn, a LinkedIn commenter or a Twitter commenter about like job roles conflicting in the online sphere and not being an issue for employers. Like things can get complicated that way, even though you're being professional about it. LinkedIn is social media for professionals. It is by nature complicated. And then you've got like Twitter. Those of us that are on Twitter or Instagram, or well, I have an Instagram, but I don't use it. Twitter or any of the other tweety type things, X, whatever. They're like, that's more, for me anyway, that's more linked to Teachers Talk Radio stuff, because I don't really talk about my job. Like I just, because I don't talk about my job online. So I'm not going to talk about my students or what's going on in my school right now. It's broad, it's general, it's whatever, but like it's there. Like it's there. And I don't think that should be locked down, because as we've said, why should it be? Like I'm a person who has a life outside of my job, and I'm not tweeting about my work, and I'm not tweeting about I keep saying tweeting. I will dead name that site forever. I keep tweeting about things that are happening in my life or in the world or with Teachers Talk Radio. It has nothing to do, or like my job in general or the career in general.
What would you call it now? If you're not tweeting,
you post on X.
Oh, you post. You don't call it. Okay.
Yeah. But I'd like, what I'm saying is, if it's like, there's a difference between having random opinions or philosophical points or arguments, or just like a picture of your dog, even. I don't think I've even done that on something. And then there's also like really more personal stuff. Like I'm not putting up pictures of my family on X. Like I'm not, that's not what that is for, because I want to keep like that's for
that's
me.
the
That's my
crossover. Yeah.
There's layers of public persona and layers of public identity. And I think we need to make sure we keep those separate. Like my personal life and my family and stuff, that's me and my business, which is why I'm extra looking over my shoulder when I'm out in public with my family. Because for some, like, I just don't, that is not available for discussion with students or their, like, I just don't want to, I grew up with that. I grew up with those lines blurred. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
But then there's like Twitter, which, yeah, has a lot to do. And I'll argue about school related stuff all day and all night, but until I get bored, but it's not to do with my job, because I'm held to professional standards by my employer. And I'm not going to talk about them in a public forum. So but then LinkedIn demands that you, like, it's all to say, oh, I don't see why there's a problem. You just lock it down. It's not that simple. We're people, we're humans. We have lives outside. It's not that simple.
The boundaries are blurred, and it is social media that's blurred them. And I think even if you yourself keep those things very distinct, there are lots of people who don't respect the fact that you keep those things distinct. And so then other people are the ones who blur those boundaries effectively without your consent. That seems like a really strong way to put it, but
no, it's true.
It's true. It's encroaching on that element, and it becomes not your choice at all. Even if
and then for the people who say, okay, we'll just shut it all down then. No, I am entitled to have, as much as we've been complaining about the internet and social media, it is an aspect of life now. It is how I communicate with a number of people important to me in my life. I am not shutting that down because other people are being creepy or threatening or stalking or weird or offensive or whatever. And I've had it all in every sense, but I'm not just shutting it. Why the hell should I have to do that when someone's being weird to me as the victim of the weirdness? Why do I have to shut down again, the sea off a long pier? Go. No way. Mm-mm.
And it comes back to say the question that we put at the beginning of the show was, are teachers entitled to a private life? And someone commented and said, why is that even a question? Unfortunately, it is a question, and it has to be a question because lots of people don't think that we are. And it's much the same question. And I know this sounds really stupid, even like Maud, you made the comparison, and I think it's a really valid comparison. We're not celebrities, obviously. We're not Kate Middleton. We're not Madonna. We're not, we're not these people.
You picked the most ridiculous example.
But we're not. Well, not Ariana Grande or whatever. I'm not any. I know. Don't start that one. That's another whole kettle of fish. But even celebrities are entitled to a private life. I fully respect the fact that they are public figures, but not every detail of their lives are we entitled to. We're not entitled to absolutely everything of their life. And we are the same. You're not entitled. Just because you see us out and about doesn't mean that you're entitled to then tell her, oh, I saw Miss doing this at the weekend. That's a breach. That's kind of it's sharing more than we're necessarily willing to share, and social media has just made that so difficult. And because people post things so quickly now, I mean, do you remember the Smiler crash at Alton Towers? Do you remember that? So there was a roller coaster where they collided, and I remember at the time that was like 2012 or something like that. It was in the really early days of social media, but there were videos of that crash on social media before the emergency services even attended it. Like I think that was 2012. So even then, those boundaries were being breached, and now we're 2026, and people can stream things live.
Do you know that's literally my worst nightmare. I've said so many times to my parents, like, you need to set up a system where you have someone contacts me if something happens to you, because I swear to God, if I hear that you've been hurt or killed on friggin' Facebook, I will bring you back and kill you again. You cannot let that be the thing that you cannot. You can't.
But people want to be the first. don't they? That's the problem. People, it's this almost competition.
Well,
It's like,
some people
I
make
know
money
this.
out of it. They
Yeah.
make money out of the
Yeah.
likes or the shares. But it's also voyeurism. We haven't talked about voyeurism, but there's a lot of this. We've normalized voyeurism in our culture.
We have.
You talked about Ariana Grande. I watched a video because my daughter mentioned it. We hear about it and we're like, oh, I'm going to check it out. It's almost indecent, isn't it? Because you see someone who is going through a very tough time. And we shouldn't encourage that desire to check and watch it. I think it's curiosity, but it's also creepy.
It's massively creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy. And we are all, like, I'm a true crime addict, I should say.
Yeah.
I should say it. I watch a lot of true crime documentaries, and a lot of people always ask me, why do you watch this? Well, first I wanted to study criminology, so that's my excuse. But it is also, it's seeing the worst that human beings can do. Why do we need to see it? It's a good question, isn't it? I like what Dr. Wayne Reed says. We've confused professional standards with permanent surveillance. No profession should be expected to live under public observation 24/7. But this is our culture now. The kids are on their phones 24/7. When they're bullied, they're bullied 24/7. And also Big Brother. We live in that world, the Big Brother world. We've got Alexa. We are surrounded by text all the time.
Yeah,
you don't.
No, thank you.
We do, and some people are even asking for body cams for teachers.
Yeah, no,
like cops, so that we have proof or evidence in case of criminality or prosecution. And you're almost tempted to say, yeah, let's put a camera in my classroom so I feel safe.
No.
But then you're thinking, I'm just colluding into that Big Brother world.
Yeah.
Why?
I think we have to push
That's
back
because
rather
our
than give into it.
Professionalism is questioned, and we feel like we want to justify ourselves all the time because it's that, you're called a liar or whatever for something that you absolutely know happened, or you absolutely know something happened in certain, and people say, no, it didn't happen like that, you're lying about
it is really tempting. Like I lost count many years ago of the amount of times a parent has said, my child didn't do that, my child doesn't say that, my child doesn't lie, and I've just had to be, I stopped biting my tongue at some stage and started saying, okay, well, I was in the room and you weren't, so this is what happened, because it's so infuriating. But I at no point have I ever thought I want to be constantly watched. At no point have I thought that was a reasonable trade-off. And not just for me, but if I were a student, I guess if they go to the school and that's always in place, you just accept it as normal because kids adapt to things. But as a teenager, that would make me really uncomfortable as well. But maybe that's because I'm old and they're used to everything being like, they're used to panopticon life.
I remember when we came back from COVID, the school that I was working in at the time, we came back to cameras mounted in every single one of our classrooms. Webcams had been mounted at the back of every single classroom, so that because so many students were having to isolate, and we were ending up with, out of classes of 30, only 8 kids were left because all the rest had come into contact with someone with COVID. And so we were live streaming as well as delivering lessons live in the classroom. And so we were expected to stream live from our classrooms with cameras at the back. And I remember feeling deeply uncomfortable with that when we came back, because there was no choice about that. It felt very, very invasive. And the reason that it was mounted at the back is so that no children's faces were on there. But it was weird. It was weird. Obviously everything about COVID was weird anyway. And the boundaries blurred there as well, because we were live streaming from home. We had a block on the children's, so we couldn't see them, but they could see us. But obviously, effectively, we were live streaming from our homes. I had like a 1-year-old at home at the time who was constantly like popping up, and like who I was dealing with, like at this, and that felt very much like an insight into my life.
It
at
was
that
so
time.
uncomfortable. We had my wife is also a teacher, and so we were doing the same thing, but it's so loud, and you don't want to have to like whisper, and you don't want other like someone from kids from another school hearing whatever. So one of us would have to be upstairs and the other would have to be downstairs. So I often ended up upstairs, like having to balance my laptop on literally sitting on the bed, because it was the only way to get a blank wall behind me, in my bedroom, on my bed, teaching these kids during COVID. It's like so many times I was like, I'm really glad I'm in my pajamas right now, but everything else about this sucks. I am so uncomfortable. This is making me feel so weird. I don't want to be talking to children while I'm literally in my bed. It was like, I hate everything about this situation we've all been forced into. It's deeply, deeply icky.
And that is CCTV in the classroom, safety or intrusion, comes down to exactly that, doesn't it? It is intrusive, but have we reached a state? Well, just everything we feel that we need to justify ourselves and back ourselves up at every point, and apparently in our private lives as well, we feel the need to justify.
It's tricky because since we've had doorbells with cameras, hence my true crime addiction, I know that it's helped police massively, when they have to retrace the last steps of someone, or follow. It's super, super important for the police to get access to these doorbell cameras, because they can follow the person. And so I know it's depressing, because it's always happening once a crime has been committed. So it's never preventative. It's always to look for the guilty party. But it does help bring justice. So in the debate, intrusion and safety, it depends what happens in your classroom.
But it's like everything else, isn't it? It's like all the security that you go through at the airport is because there are a handful of people who are going to do the wrong thing. But you then have to go through that incredibly invasive process where, people are looking for your bags, and, people are taken, you have those scans, don't you, which are really quite unpleasantly invasive, and you can be taken off to a side room, because there are literally a handful of people who would do something wrong in that circumstance. But everybody needs to be treated in that way, just in case they're one of that handful. And so like you're saying, Maud, the Ring doorbell footage, yes, it's incredibly helpful for the very small number of the population who do the wrong thing, and yet all the rest of us are kind of subject to these rules, as it were, because there's a handful of people. I mean, gosh, isn't school a microcosm of that?
Yeah, but
isn't that what it's about?
They stopped the trust-based system in airports. They used the trust-based system for a long time, and then they stopped it because they realized that it's a choice. Do we treat everybody with suspicion or not? And in airports, they decided we have to treat everybody with suspicion. I don't know if it's a good sign. I feel more secure knowing that we check. And before going to, after COVID, because COVID, I don't know how you were after COVID, but I didn't want to be in public places. I was really reluctant to be with people. So I changed my social life habits. And now if I go to an event or a place, I don't like it when they don't check the bags. I want someone to check the bags at the entrance. And maybe it's because of something, there was the Bataclan terrorist attack in Paris. There's lots of things where when there's more than 100 people in a room, I do feel like, oof, there's too many people. So for me, it's reassuring to have people do checks and metal checks and all that. It's not the society you want to live in, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Do you feel?
I feel like walking through a metal detector bothers no one. Like, I'll empty my pockets. I'll do whatever. Like, as long as they don't have a problem with the underwire in my bra, and we're not going to that level, and I'm having to get like, then like whatever. It's not impacting on my day. But I And I'm not going to have some sort of like ethical objection to the presumption of guilt that, you know, a metal detector at the door would, like, I don't care. I'd rather just no one brought in a knife, like whatever. But the cameras, the body cameras, the CCTV, like I totally understand the arguments for it. And I agree with many of them. I just, for me personally, on balance, nah. Because also part of the reason I think that, and a lot of online commenters have pointed this out, those of us who've worked in deeply toxic schools run by maniacal, insane people will know this firsthand. If they are looking for a reason, cameras can help them find something to use. So if you are on the wrong side of the wrong people,
out of context,
you better hope there's not a you better hope there's not a camera in your classroom.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've watched that documentary. I think it was on Panorama, but there's new cameras that are so small they're hidden in water bottles or essential oil diffusers. They cost 30 quid, and there was even some that could be hidden inside a toilet cubicle. They use it in clubs and things. So there's a lot of men who, it's usually men, sorry, I'm being sexist there, but they film women using public facilities or toilets, and then they swap the videos on some dodgy websites. It's a documentary available on the BBC iPlayer. So now anyone can buy these small cameras. They're 30 quid and they're very well hidden. So you just need one kid with a water bottle with that camera in it, and your privacy is gone. And we haven't mentioned
like
the Ray-Ban
glasses and everything.
It is exactly that. Thank you. What are we going to do about this? Now, there's no... What's the rule? If you see a man walking about with these pair of glasses or a pupil,
you tell him to get the F away from you and you walk away. Like, that's literally, if I ever see anyone come up to me with those glasses on, I'm not going to commit assault. I'm not going to commit theft. I'm just going to tell him about himself and then walk away. And if my cussing out ends up on the internet and someone complains about a teacher cussing out a man on the street, so be it. My personal life.
Do you know what I need
privacy
to
invaded?
I need to inform myself about what they look like, because
you can't see them.
You can't tell.
Even frames, like picture frames, water bottles, oil diffusers, they are hidden cameras. Watch the documentary. It's terrifying, and it's used by stalkers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there always seems to be people who are, for monetary gain, are creating these workarounds. Like there are vape companies that are disguising vapes as highlighters to enable children to sneak them.
That's been going on for years.
Like
years ago.
So why is nobody cracking down on these horrendous? Because it's not like it's on the dark web. It's just perfectly accessible for anybody to go and find these things. They're readily available, and we've just got these people who are just legitimately selling these items, which are having really nasty consequences for people in society.
It's a James Bond gadget, but anyone with 30 quid can buy it, basically.
I had no idea about the diffusers. That's really disturbing.
No, it's brand new. I mean, it's happening now, and there's lots of young ladies who find videos of themselves being shared from, and you can date a man and then he has an oil diffuser and you think, well, that's fine, and this is just to capture video footage. So it's really, really tricky, and our pupils need to know about this because they need to navigate that when they start dating or going out, or so I think this is going to be on our PSHCE content next year for sure. So Dr. Wayne Reed says in England, there's no blanket law that makes it illegal for a student to secretly record a lesson. Yeah, again, law is always like 2 steps behind.
Yeah.
And there'll be a new problem.
Right. So bearing that in mind, if you could go back to, if you had to restart your life, okay, like gun to your head, you don't have a choice. If you had to restart your life in any other time or place from before your date of birth, Where would it be? When would it be? And why? Because I'm
Well,
tired of being here. I don't like
Yeah,
2026.
no, Ray, I have to say, as a person of color, I don't really have a
Yeah,
choice.
fair.
I don't want to go back in time. I think
Place then.
now
Place.
it's still better for me. Place,
So as recent as possible, but where?
Bhutan. Have you heard of that lovely kingdom in the Himalayas?
Why Bhutan?
Because it's very safe and protected, and they have a king, and he wants to keep his kingdom, I would say, far away from modern technology, the invasive type of modern technology. So he reduces tourism. Visas are very expensive. I think they plant more trees. They try and be more eco-friendly. It seems like it's a bit of a paradise over there. So I'll say Bhutan.
Liz?
I don't know. I really did like growing up in the 90s. So I feel like that was a peak time to be a teenager.
No,
so
has to be earlier.
But I was born, maybe I'd be born like 10, 20 years earlier, born in the 60s, late 60s maybe, and kind of grow up, have my teen years in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't know. Can I just go to Switzerland or something, or Finland?
You can try Denmark in the 70s. My husband is Danish, and he had a great childhood.
Yeah, I just feel like I'd like to go somewhere where they seem to be a very moderate, peaceful kind of people. You know, Switzerland, they're very neutral over there, aren't they? I feel like it's very expensive though.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Ray?
So my answer to this question was always like 1920s Paris.
Oh.
Why?
And then I would get out, and then I would leave very soon after, like 1910s, 1920s Paris, and then I would leave before some key events took place. However, now I'm thinking like maybe the Triassic era as some sort of four-legged creature that doesn't really think about anything other than where my next leaves and seeds are coming from.
That really is. Is it that bad? Is humanity that bad, Ray?
I just like dinosaurs. I don't know. But I think they're better than
cool.
people.
Dinosaurs are cool.
Yeah. Dinosaurs are cool. Yeah. Have I told one of my most embarrassing stories? I feel like I've said this before. Is now I preface this with, I know that dinosaurs were real. I'm not like a dinosaur denier or anything. So I want to be clear about that. But I think I was in my 30s when I had a revelation, like a proper epiphany of like, oh my God, dinosaurs were real. Not that I didn't think that they were real, but I understood that they were real and they walked the earth. Like you
felt them.
I felt them. I understood that they'd walked the planet. And then I went to the Natural History Museum and I had the best time because I was like, oh my gosh, these actually walked the earth. So that's one of the top 10 most embarrassing things about me. I also thought an owl was a reptile until I was 25. So
that's got to be one. That's got to be one.
I thought they had scales, not feathers.
Oh, stop. Oh, Liz.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I teach people.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't teach them biology. That's for sure.
No. This is why I'm a history teacher. I'm not even a history teacher, an English teacher. I don't even know. It's the holidays. I don't even remember what subject I teach. Right, everybody. We've managed to talk for 2 hours. That's just gone by in an absolute flash. We're trying to compete with Monday's bumper 3-hour one.
Oh, that'll never.
Not quite as controversial, though, unfortunately.
No, it wouldn't be.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you. We had a lovely time. Thank you for those people who've commented. If you're still with us, like, subscribe, join us for future points of view. There'll be one on Sunday. There'll potentially be one on Monday as well. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Outstanding and world-class vision